Welcome. My name is Luisa Baldini. I'm a former BBC News correspondent and a co-founder of Composure Media. I am honoured to be the host of the 2021 ULI Europe Awards for Excellence ceremony. For this year's ceremony, we are once again meeting online, but this will be a great opportunity to celebrate together the fantastic projects submitted in the most challenging of years. Now to tell you a little background to today's ceremony. ULI has been running the Global Awards for Excellence programme since 1979 to recognise truly superior development efforts in the private, public and non-profit sectors. But this is just the second year that the programme is being run in Europe, and they want to recognise projects that truly demonstrate the best land use practice from across the EMEA region. Today, we will be announcing the 5 winners and 2 special mentions of the 2021 awards. They've been selected by a strictly independent jury through a rigorous process, and we'll be hearing from all the winners about their successful projects. But first, the finalists. The 10 finalists chosen by this year's jury in alphabetical order were Edge Grand Central Berlin, Ernest the Garden and Ernest the Park, Gare Maritime, Granary Island Phase 1, Harrow Square, LX Factory, Piraeus Port Plaza, Promfrey Lad Renovation, Windmill Green, and Wokingham Town Centre Regeneration. And now I'm delighted to announce the chairman of the awards jury, Giancarlo Scotti, who is chairman of GCS and Partners, global governing trustee of ULI, and a former chair of ULI Italy. Giancarlo has kindly chaired the jury for this, a second year, a jury made up of senior ULI members, fully independent and diverse in terms of profession, geography, and gender. Giancarlo, over to you.
Thank you, Luisa. As chairman of the jury, I'm delighted to welcome everyone today to the ceremony of the ULI Europe Awards for Excellence 2021. These awards recognize the full development process of a project: planning, design, construction, economic viability, management, and community impact. In selecting this year's winners, the jury evaluated each project based upon their market acceptance and financial success, their standards of excellence in all areas, their relevance to the needs of the community, the impact in their communities, their environmental sustainability, and their replicability. To find our winners, the jury met with the difficult task to select the finalists out of the total number of 33 project submissions. Each project that was chosen as a finalist was then visited remotely on a virtual tour by the jurors. We then all met again to select the 5 winners and 2 special mentions. I had the pleasure to work with a really great group of jurors this year, whom I would like to thank warmly. Clarissa Alfring, Director of Business Development Europe at Avison Young, Theodore Karajonis, Executive Chairman of Karajonis Group, Sigrid Duhamel, Global CIO of BNP Paribas Reim and CEO of BNP Paribas Reim France, Manfred Gutenberg, Member of the Board of Wolfsburg AG, Sophie Handy Price, Principal of Studios Architecture, Carolina Kine, CEO of Upper Property, Tinka Klein, Senior Director of Private Real Estate at PGGM, Vanessa Muscara, Head of Research and Strategy at Europa Capital, and Pietran Van Heel, Team Lead Development at eTech Energy. In addition to the winners, we have also selected 2 special mentions which were awarded to those projects that demonstrated excellence in specific areas of great importance for the ULI and its members. Our first special mention for repurposing goes to Piraeus Port Plaza in Athens, Greece, and the developer and owner Diamond and 3 SPVs. Piraeus Port Plaza is an interesting example of a former industrial property repurposing into modern commercial workplace. Respecting the original architecture, the derelict and polluted buildings were transformed into sustainable and technology-oriented office space. With this first redevelopment in place, an example has been set for more projects to transform the Piraeus Port area and form new communities in a previously abandoned part of the city.
I would like to thank you on behalf of Demand and the whole team who was involved in the design and construction of the Piraeus Port Plaza urban redevelopment. We consider this award an important recognition of our effort to transform an abandoned industrial neighborhood into the area with the highest density in LEED certified sustainable buildings in Greece. Considering that energy upgrade to existing structures is the only possible way to reach the carbon emission targets of the Paris Agreement, this effort to step up from a building scale to urban infrastructure redevelopment by involving public stakeholders allows us to a wider framework for healthy, highly efficient and cost-saving green buildings. Thank you for your recognition.
We then awarded one of the finalists with 2 special mentions. The special mention for social value and the special mention for creative placemaking, arts and culture, community engagement goes to Promprylad renovation in Ivano-Frankivsk, Ukraine. Once a blacksmith and locksmith workshop and a production site for space travel, electricity meters, radios, and even umbrellas, the Promprylad renovation project in the Ukraine has repurposed a former industrial factory site that was founded in the early 20th century. The transformation process has focused on the renovation of the existing buildings so that it can function as a miniature circular city for the local community, where the waste produced by one tenant is a raw material for another, water is treated locally, and energy is produced and recovered on site to cover its needs. With just a part of the development having been realized so far, it is a very promising project and fully deserving of the jury's award of 2 special mentions. So let's hear from them now.
It's very valuable for our team that Promprylad renovation is among of the finalists of the ULI Europe Award of Excellence. We are very grateful for this special mention. Our sincere thanks to the ULI team and the jury members for their professional work, for the time and attention you've given to our project. Promprylad dedicated to the changes that are possible only with involvement of the huge community. So many special thanks to all of our investors, experts, and partners. This success belongs to you.
Thank you, Giancarlo, and well done to our finalists who were recognised with a special mention. We now come to the announcement of the 5 equal winning projects of the 2021 ULI Europe Awards for Excellence. I'll shortly be handing over to 5 of the jury members to announce 5 separate winners. And I will then have the chance of interviewing the key members of each winning project team to find out why their projects were so deserving. So first up, I'd like to welcome jury member Sophie Henley-Price. Over to you, Sophie.
Thank you, Louisa. I'm very excited to be part of today's ceremony. Obviously, I'd prefer it if I could be with all of you in person, but we'll Have to make do with virtual today. It's my great pleasure to now reveal the first of the equal winners of the 2021 ULI Europe Awards for Excellence. And the winner is Edge Grand Central Berlin, led by the developer Edge, partially operated by Edge Workspace. The owner is Nuveen Real Estate, and the architects Bolwin Wolf Architekten. So congratulations to all of you. Now, Edge has long been heralded for driving digital innovation and sustainability in real estate, and Grand Central Berlin is proof yet again of this commitment. But pushing innovation further, Edge are now holding up the banner for more socially driven and transparent real estate developments. They have integrated well-being and neurosciences into the design parameters, so they are smarter, healthier, more sustainable, and more responsible. It has also achieved the first DGNB Platinum certification in Germany, alongside WELL Core Gold, and the building uses as little as 3,500 sensors to collect granular data into a unique all-in-one cloud solution to better understand, sustainably operate, and continuously improve the building. And so with this, we recognize that Grand Central Berlin is leading the way in the growing trend from dry to operational real estate. It is about recognizing that average lease lengths across many European office markets are shortening, and the value creation is no longer just about the bones or location of an asset, but also about the operability to provide a truly compelling solution to tenants and to building owners. Edge Workspaces have remained tenants of the building to ensure high levels of service, in turn reducing the risk of voids while sustaining value. And the result is a dynamic hub, bringing together a diverse population of occupiers, as well as welcoming the broader community. So now let's have a look at the project itself before we hear from the winners themselves. Thank you.
And we're now joined by the CEO of Edge, Koen van Oostrom. Koen, welcome. Congratulations on this award. After the year we've all had, what does receiving this award mean for you and for your team?
I think it's amazing news, and thank you so much for having me today. And this celebration for us is so important. It's been a difficult year. It's been a year where at the same time all these bad things happened, but where also, let's say, our proposition of sustainability and health in buildings have become so important. And so we feel grateful for the recognition, and also in this weird year, I think the team needed to have this recognition in Berlin. Thank you so much.
You mentioned sustainability. Sustainability and technology are obviously very important driving factors behind a development like this. Can you tell us more about your approach?
So we believe that a big part of the global problem that we have around sustainability is coming from the built environment. I think almost 40% of global emissions, and buildings can be part of the solution too. And we just have to make sure that both in new build and existing buildings, we really step in and change the energy use of the buildings. This building in specific, we had a huge opportunity. It is in a central location in Berlin. We had enough space to work with all kinds of different technologies and make sure that from the start, designing the whole process, that we could all bring all the things together that we wanted to bring together. We were aiming to make the most sustainable building in Germany, and I think that in the meantime, some other competitors did amazing work as well. So I'm not sure we've got it to that level, but it's truly a building where all these new technologies are coming together, and we can really make sure that we're getting very close to net zero.
And I understand that the project has used and touched on neuroscience to better understand how the space can be used for work and pleasure. Can you elaborate on that, please?
Well, we believe that a building should really do the right things for human beings, and one of those things is that with all the toxics in the air and with the light and all the other things happening, there's something happening to your brain as well, and we wanted to measure that, and we were super happy that we could work together with a group of people called HUME, and a group of people connected to the great university that is next door in Berlin, and we invited these scientists and said, hey, have a look at this building. Can you help us to register what are people actually doing? Can we measure productivity? I think productivity for us is sort of a holy grail, and then we don't have to ask a price per square meter in the future, but we can say, hey, if people get things done in this building, can you pay a little bit more? And then we can invest more in making this building truly a experience that is different than old school buildings. And so, but it starts, of course, by measuring what we have right now and optimizing the things that can be done in the building. And just by starting and just by measuring on day one, hey, what is actually happening when you bring furniture in that is new and you see toxic rates going up a little bit, is already something like, wow, that actually makes an influence, that has an influence. Carpet on the floor has an influence on how people work. There's a lot to learn, and we're just starting, but it's an amazing journey.
How do you make sure that you provide the right solutions and services to your tenants? I mean, obviously there's a lot of technology, but how do you provide for your tenants?
I think that rule one for us in the company is that anybody who thinks of a new technology, and I think this happens every day now, that we ask, how does this help our customer? And our customer is not only the tenant, it can be the owner, it can be the neighbor of the building, it can be the city that has certain expectations of the building, but it has to help somebody doing things more efficient or with more fun, or to make the building more attractive to hire people, or to be attractive for talent in the market. But there has to be a deeper a problem that we can solve with it. And technology, just for technology's sake, is a fun thing for a day, and then you forget about it again. And definitely tenants don't want to pay for it. And so it has to have a purpose. And for us, it's so important. If it's scalable, it's so much easier. If we can do it in one building, then we can scale it up to 100 buildings, and then really we can help humanity have better buildings around them.
Do you know how the project's been received in Berlin?
So Berlin is an interesting city. There's a bit of a culture war going on in Berlin, and if you say on a birthday, hey, I'm a real estate developer, that's the end. You will not get any beer anymore, and you know, you have to pay for your drinks yourself. And at the same time, I think that city needs to develop. We are part of that, and we have to reach out and say, what is this building giving back to the city? How does it relate to the city? And so one of the things that we have done in this building is that we've opened up some of the space for tenants that cannot pay a market price, and we have allowed them to go in on a lower price. In return, these companies say, hey, we're an NGO. We actually know a lot about how this city works. We can help you with a lot of topics that typically are not on the vision of a real estate developer. So we will do workshops with your team. We can help you in all kinds of different ways. And the interaction and the ecosystem that we're building there, very different from a typical real estate ecosystem, is so valuable that we want to do this in all our buildings. One of these examples of scalability, Berlin is helping us to be more inclusive and to be more impactful in the cities that we work in.
It's clear that, like many of today's winners, you are constantly pushing the boundaries. That creativity and flexibility was obviously key to the success of this project. How important do you think it will be in adapting to these uncertain times?
Well, I think that we have a huge undertaking in the real estate industry. And there are two major topics that are hitting us at the same time. One is that sustainability that we already touched upon. So many buildings out there need to be changed in the next 10 years. And we see big tenants signing up. We want to be net zero in 2040 or 2030 even. And their buildings, their rental contracts are hitting that date. And so they want to have net zero buildings right now. And there's, you know, maybe that's easy in a new building, although if you take the CO2 of making a building, the concrete, the glass, the steel, it's a lot of work. But the new buildings is one thing, but the existing buildings, there's so much work to be done. And we really have to start moving on it. A second topic, a huge topic, is everybody will want to work in a hybrid way. Nobody will want to be full-time in the office or full-time at home. And so this hybrid work is going to be huge. That means we're going to use our buildings in a very different way. Work sitting at a desk, you can do everywhere, probably at home. When you're in the office, you want to communicate, you want to have amazing coffee, you want to sit on the staircase, and you want to have that random meeting with that colleague that you weren't even looking for, but that gives you some advice on a topic that you were struggling with. That means that we have to design our office in a very different way. Also there, millions of offices are out there designed in a very different way, and they have to be upgraded. And I think that we're only starting to understand right now what the undertaking is going to be in the next 10 to 20 years, where the whole stock of offices, and this is also true for hospitals and schools, everything will change. And we need to do a lot of work, and we're super motivated to get it done. And this prize is helping us also for the whole team to stay motivated and do that.
Well, thank you so much, and congratulations once again to you and the whole team who have helped make it such a success. Now, I'd like to welcome another one of our jury members, and that is Manfred Guntenberg, to reveal the second of our winners. Over to you, Manfred.
Thank you, Luisa. It's been a privilege to be part of the selection process in choosing the winners of these prestigious awards, and I'm very pleased to now announce the next winner. Our second award winner is Gare Maritime, with its developer, the Extensor Group, and the architect, Nutelinx Riedijk Architekten. Gare Maritime is a uniquely ambitious urban regeneration project that has repurposed a former freight station into a highly sustainable new forum to live, eat, work, play, and learn. A new destination in Brussels. The 300-meter-long historical structure has been transformed into an indoor city with access to office and retail units, garnered food halls, and a multitude of event spaces. Demonstrating leadership both in its design and its sustainability goals, Gare Maritime is energy neutral and designed for circularity, serving as a catalyst to a larger revitalization project that will foster a vibrant new district in Brussels. It is a commendable example of how taking a long-term vision can enable the transformation of abandoned assets into outstanding hubs, open to the community that celebrate heritage while meeting the evolving needs of communities at large. And now, we can see more of the project itself before hearing from the winners.
And I'm delighted to now introduce Chris Verhellen, CEO of Extensor Group, and Michiel Riedijk, architect partner of Nutelinx Riedijk Architects. Chris, congratulations. We can see Gare Maritime behind you. How does it feel receiving this award, especially when you look back at the original ideas for the project?
Well, thank you, Luisa. It feels great, of course, to win this fantastic award. Looking back on the beginning, we have to say that this has been a journey of progressive insights. We started out with a big empty building, not really knowing what to do with it. Then we tried to follow the rules of the classical shopping center. That didn't lead us nowhere. And it was a great insight from Nutelinx Riedijk Architects to treat the building not as a building, but as a covered city quarter that actually got us on track to do this fantastic project.
And Michiel, there were three main design ingredients. Can you talk us through them, please?
Thank you, Luisa. Yes, the Gare Maritime, it's a vast former freight station. It's 300 meters long, 150 meters wide. It consists out of 7 halls, 3 high halls, 4 lower halls. And we had the idea to turn the central hall into a vast covered square, stretching from the adjacent neighborhood into the future park, which is the center of the future Tu and Taxi site. Adjacent to that, we constructed small alleys, east-west crossings that cross the Gare Maritime and tie in the building to the adjacent city fabric with the future housing area on the west and the former Royal Entrepot on the east. Thirdly, we envisioned 10 timber structures, small buildings, so to speak, that are located in between the existing beautiful steel structure that made the former freight station.
Were there any specific challenges to the design, Michiel?
First and foremost, keeping such a beautiful heritage structure in place while building is, of course, a tremendous challenge. By opting for a timber structure, we were able to execute a vast program underneath the building, underneath this roof, inside, since all timber elements came to site prefabricated and they were mounted on site and constructed into these 10 separate pavilions, so to speak. So by maintaining the integral roof in place and opting for a timber structure, we were able to meet the challenges on site. Adjacent to that, by opting for a very high sustainability level and a circularity level, we were facing profound technical challenges in respect to high sustainability demands.
And that sustainability is influencing, no doubt, the development beyond just the building and for the whole area. And indeed, for the community, this building must have made quite a difference. Chris, how important was the need to engage with the local community in developing this new vision for the old station?
Well, very important, obviously. Once we decided that this project would be a covered city quarter, we had to tie it and connect it to the existing structure, what you would normally do in a lesser way if you would just treat it as an enclosed building. So we worked with the public authorities, with community organizations, and try to get their advice and also develop activities where they could participate and actually, as we go further now, also make it a bit their own, because they have to make use of the public space also inside this building.
And regarding the sustainability, do you see that it's influenced the wider area?
Well, I may hope that it's the circular aspect of the building, and especially the fact that we've done this within a completely private setting with no grants or subsidies. We realized this project with private money, and it's doable, profitable. So our ambition is actually to show the world that this can be done and that you can have this ambition without relying on any public money. So yes, the effect should go far beyond our developing site there in Brussels, but actually be an example for the industry.
And that ambition, that impact that it can have on Brussels generally, what impact do you think it will have on the city in the future?
I hope it's a great addition for the attractiveness of Brussels as a tourist and a business hub. It's been a long time since Brussels had such an addition, such a let's say grandiose infrastructure that opened up. dates back from a while. It's a very nice city. We have a lot of small infrastructure and features, but this is really sizable and could be a good attraction for Brussels.
Do you both have ideas of how you see the space developing? Michiel?
It would be beautiful, Luisa, if the space and this central concourse will be conquered and occupied by the neighborhood with all kinds of different activities. Although, of course, we had the pandemic, we had a small basketball tournament in the central hall, we had a large comics festival in the central hall. And what would be great if this kind of activities will expand the coming years and will contribute to the liveliness of this part of Brussels.
Thanks, Michiel. And Chris, what about you? What ambitions do you have for the future of the building?
It's maybe no longer our ambitions, but great expectations, because we created something. We didn't do a renovation. We actually repurposed a building and an infrastructure. And so we now have to more or less let it go and live its own life. But it's designed to evolve and to adapt to new technologies, to new fashions and all that. So I think as it integrates within the city fabric, there's lots of opportunities for flexibility and adaptability of this structure. So looking forward to that.
Well, my father happens to live in Brussels, so I'm really looking forward to visiting once we can all travel again. Well done to the whole team on being a winner of the 2021 ULI Europe Awards for Excellence. And now I'd like to hand over to the third of our jury members, Tinka Kleiner, to announce our next winner today. Over to you, Tinka.
Thank you, Luisa. I'm so excited to be part of this ceremony. And it's my pleasure now to reveal to you the next winner of the 2021 ULI Europe Awards for Excellence. And the winner is Harrow Square in the UK, a development of Hyde New Homes in Barrett West London and SOM Architects. Harrow Square is an outstanding example of how first-class architecture and urban densification can contribute positively to social equity, inclusion and community growth. This mixed-use development at the heart of the commuter town of Harrow in Greater London has transformed a long derelict and polluted brownfield site into a dynamic, sustainable and high-quality cluster of buildings. Set around a newly created civic space, the project knits the neighborhood together and successfully integrates public and private space. With 318 residential units, it seamlessly makes social, affordable and market rate, as well as a new public library and retail units. The project demonstrates how cooperation between public and private parties can result in exceptional and responsible development, both in design and in function. Congratulations! And we now can have a closer look at the project before hearing from the winners themselves in conversation with Luisa. Thank you very much for this beautiful project.
Harrow Square is a new mixed-use development adjacent to Harrow-on-the-Hill station in Outer London. It provides 318 apartments, a public library, retail and a new public square. The multi-storey framed reading of the facade enables a flexible arrangement of spaces incorporating apartments with balconies, winter gardens and roof terraces in a cohesive reading. The deep recesses in the facade assist in controlling solar overheating and allows the optimization of solid and transparent areas to maintain a high thermal performance for the project. The design maximizes the potential of its location near a major transport interchange linking rail, underground and bus networks with new retail facilities and minimal parking. Harrow Square is set around the first new civic space to be created in Harrow in decades. This new contribution to the public realm will be a dynamic and highly animated environment, offering access to the new library, an existing church, 4 new residential blocks and associated retail spaces.
And I'm now delighted to introduce to you Peter Jackson, the Director of Skidmore, Owings and Merrill. Peter, after the year we've all been through, what does this award mean to you and the team?
Well, thank you, Louisa. It's always great to receive an award, and we are genuinely honoured.
The ULI is a cross-industry organisation, so they test us on so many different aspects of a project, and that's really exciting because we're tested on development quality, design quality, social equity, sustainability, and that's really enabled us to look at each of those aspects and to focus on, particularly for us, sustainability, which is the heart of what SOM is doing. And it's also fantastic that the jurors and the organisers are still able to give their time in what's been a challenging year for all of us.
Absolutely. And Peter, let's rewind a little bit. How did you approach the development of a site that is so large, right in the centre of the community, whilst also needing to blend in with the surrounding architecture?
Well, there was some planning history on the site, and Harrow had really assembled a very strong team of officers that were capable of asking the right questions of developers and architects. And they were clear from the outset that they wanted a development of the highest quality if we were to deliver something at this level of density. With that as a brief and asking difficult questions of us, we really started to explore how to respond. I live only a few minutes walk from the site and recognise that the centre of Harrow has been cut off from the rest of the borough by 20th century development. And the opportunity to reinstate public space and bring a really promising civic square to the centre of this development was critical. And then working with a palette of materials and forms that were complementary to the historic forms of Harrow, which have made it such a desirable location.
And public-private collaboration is integral to the success of a development, a responsible development like Harrow Square. How did you approach that collaboration, and what were the challenges that you faced?
Absolutely. I mean, Hyde is a provider of social housing, and their view on social purpose and their way to engage broader community groups is really important here. They engage very closely with the borough in what the borough might be looking for in the project, but they also engaged with an adjoining church to look at how they could work together to bring something that was richer, and bringing kind of that civic element, the religious or community element together gave us the component parts of a traditional town square. So it was very easy brief to respond to and bring all those users in such a way that we could develop something hopefully greater than the sum of its parts.
So attracting those cultural communities was absolutely key to the project.
Yeah, and the library has been a fantastic part of that. When you listen to Tim Bryan, who leads the cultural and library service in Harrow, he will talk about the fact that a purpose-built place has actually delivered them so much more opportunity. We had a brief for a singular box to house the library, but we were able to provide a private garden space and an external pavilion. And that range of different spaces and usability has actually enabled them to do a lot more. And they're bringing children's education, adult literacy, and broader adult learning. They're starting to bring in cultural communities with local artists working from the pavilion, and actually bringing in some of the elected officials to bring the kind of heart of civic life in the borough right to the centre of this project. And that is fantastically exciting to see.
So it must have made such an impact on the local community. How's it been received by them?
Well, when you develop at this scale, I think you can imagine that there's always a little bit of resistance to change. And with Hyde and with the borough, we worked very, very closely at the outset to explore with the local user groups and amenity groups what their concerns were and how we could address and mitigate those concerns. And I think that has been the proof of the pudding here. The Housing All Sold and Barrett, who came on as commercial partner, would tell us repeatedly that they could have sold all the units twice. The affordable housing element has all been let to people on the council's own housing list. So it's been a success in terms of local adoption. And we talk about the library and the residential, but there is workplace, there's retail, and the adoption of those units or those spaces has been slowed slightly by the pandemic. But I think as they come on stream and we see more people coming through the site, that level of adoption will really accelerate and we'll see it thrive.
And Peter, just to conclude, creativity and flexibility were key to this project. How important will this be in adapting to these uncertain times?
I think that's a really interesting question. I mentioned Barratt's involvement, and their specialist housing knowledge meant that they were keen to push us to explore more residential typologies, housing types than we had done at the outset. So there's a really rich platform of living types and flexible living spaces embodied in the scheme. And the retail and workplace elements enable us to bring broader communities through as they engage with these spaces. We think that the way we curate space kind of defines what may be possible, and we explored with the borough how a farmer's market, pop-up retail, perhaps an outdoor cinema could start to occupy the civic space at the heart of the project. But actually the art of what's possible there is really going to be defined by those people who make this their home, the local businesses, the community groups within the library, and we look forward to seeing them thrive. And I think that will be a really exciting process as they colonize the space and truly make it their own.
Peter Jackson, thank you for this fascinating insight into the project. Congratulations once again to you and all the team at SOM for being a winner of the 2021 ULI Europe Awards for Excellence. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fantastic to hear from Peter Jackson there. Now, I'd like to welcome another one of the jury members. Carolina came to reveal our next winner. Over to you, Carolina.
Thank you, Luisa. I am so excited to be a part of this ceremony and just wish we could all be here together in person. It is my great pleasure to reveal the next of the winners of the 2021 ULI Europe Awards for Excellence. And the winner is LX Factory in Lisbon, Portugal. Developer Keith Reim and the owner Catumbel Investimentos Imobiliarios e Turísticos. LX Factory is an ambitious and creative project that has turned a former industrial site into a vibrant part of the city of Lisbon. This mixed-use redevelopment of 12 buildings has attracted non-mainstream retail, startups and creative industries, which in turn has created an arts and crafts ecosystem for cultural events. Attracting more than 700,000 visitors a year with both locals and tourists, LX Factory is set to become one of the most desirable attractions in Lisbon. The redevelopment plans respected the organic DNA of the site, preserving as much as possible with limited intervention. Well-managed and passionate leadership helped to change the status quo for the neighborhood and set a great example for new investment coming to the area. A dynamic, vibrant community is now blooming in the former textile factory that was once set for full demolition. LX Factory has a strong and unique identity, although the project strategy is also replicable for many brownfield sites in larger agglomerations. And let's now have a look at the project before we hear from the winners themselves.
And I am delighted to say that joining us on the line from Lisbon are Vicente Leitao and Bernardo Almeida from Keys Reim. Congratulations, gentlemen. It's a fascinating project and sounds like something completely new to the city of Lisbon.
Well, first of all, good afternoon. Hello to everyone, and we are very happy to be here, and we are very proud to have been awarded. Well, yes, it's definitely something new for the city. When it started, the asset just brought not a lot of novelty to an area called Alcântara that before that was not gentrified at all, and the Alex factory brought all this lively action to a part of the city that really needed it.
And Bernardo, how did you approach the redevelopment with both the need to retain the existing structures and yet create a place that was new and unique?
Well, indeed, it was a challenge, but the goal was to create a space where we could welcome the creative industries and the industries that gravitate around the creative arts, and we successfully built an asset that has this DNA, this ecosystem of smaller and medium companies that usually have a hard time finding spaces in the more traditional assets. And so we created this space whereby these tenants are welcome, and whereby we've managed to create this ecosystem where the companies benefit from being on site because they benefit from being close to each other. And this in turn creates a novelty effect that attracts a lot of visitors to the site.
So that was always part of the strategy then, to focus on attracting non-mainstream local communities and businesses?
Well, in the beginning was when the project started, it was the natural way to go because the location was not very sought after, and we had and the asset needed tenants. And where it was found, this niche was within tenants that are considered non-mainstream and don't have the possibility of occupying the traditional retail spaces. And by doing that, we understood how powerful non-mainstream retail can be because of its novelty and because of the fact that it's good for the locals. It's really something positive locally, and internationally becomes super interesting to visit something new.
And for that local community, just how much of an impact has it had on them?
We think it has had a very big impact. We can measure that by the fact that Alex Factory became a destination, an iconic destination in Lisbon, attracting many visitors per year, comparable numbers to some of the most touristic monuments in Portugal, in Lisbon. And not only has it successfully reached the status of destination, so attracting a lot of international visitors, attracting a lot of local visitors as well, but it has become a hotspot for this sort of companies within the creative arts industry that continuously seek spaces within LX Factory and continuously keep providing us with good feedback.
COVID must have been a bit of a setback for LX Factory. It's been a setback for cities all over the world. How do you see sites like LX Factory being able to help communities recover and prosper once all of this is hopefully behind us?
Well, I think real estate has a very important role within what is the future and what is the way that people will interact with cities. So an asset like LX Factory really has the opportunity to show, by the way it upcycles real estate, that you need to have a certain level of creativity to innovate. And that innovation is something that we can find here. And I think that can be extrapolated to anyone who arrives to the asset, being a user, a client, and all of the stakeholders understand that what we do, what's done at LX Factory is to find solutions that are many times not the conventional ones. So within COVID and what's here to arrive, we will have to make some adaptations. We are thinking about also following the day-to-day of the pandemic to understand how we can adapt.
But here what we have is an LX Factory and assets like LX Factory. What they bring is they support the locals. They support what is local. People understand that this is a place where you will be able to find a lot of non-mainstream options, and that is really what the economy needs, a push from bottom up.
You already mentioned that COVID may change certain aspects of LX Factory in the future, but apart from that, how do you see the site developing?
Well, we want to leverage on the DNA of the assets, keep building on this ecosystem of companies, and in light of that, our plans include the construction of additional square meters within LX Factory to consolidate the assets, to create additional spaces for additional tenants, and to create new experiences, because it's also very important to keep innovating, as Vicente said. And so we want to keep this novelty effect alive. We want to create new experiences for the users, always maintaining two very important aspects for us in mind: the current DNA of LX Factory and the ESG factors that are very important for our funds.
And just to sum up then, what does it mean to you both to receive this award for you and your team?
Well, we are delighted. We are very happy to have received the award. We think that it's the consequence of a lot of work, and we faced a lot of difficulties within the consolidation of the asset. And so for us, it's really, really important, because it's, in one hand, it's an award for the work that has been developed here. On the other hand, it's also very good for the visibility of both our company and the asset in international terms. And so for that, we are very grateful.
Well, thank you for being with us today, and congratulations once again on being a winner of the 2021 ULI Europe Awards for Excellence. Now, I'd like to welcome Vanessa Muscara from this year's jury to reveal our final award winner today. Vanessa.
Thank you, Luisa, and thank you for being a fabulous host of this year's ceremony. I'm delighted to now reveal the next and final winner of our 2021 ULI Europe Awards for Excellence. And the winner is Workingham Town Centre Regeneration in the UK, with its architects and developers, Benoit, and the owners, the local Borough Council of Workingham. Recognising the lack of a central retail and leisure offer compared to nearby centres, including Bracknell and Reading, Workingham Borough Council set out to launch a regeneration project of the town centre in 2009, including an affordable housing component to meet the undersupply of housing for key workers. As a result of a long public consultation period, this rare, publicly led project was able to achieve commercial pre-letting targets quicker than expected. The completed mixed-use project not only provided a focal point to the community throughout the pandemic, but is also likely to be future-proof as residents spend more time working from home and less time commuting into nearby employment centres, including London. In summary, this regeneration project achieved what it set out to do: deliver a financially viable scheme for the benefit of the local community, complete with green spaces and a public park that residents can be proud of, without passing the burden to residents through taxation, a model that can be replicated elsewhere. So let's now have a closer look at the project and hear from the winners themselves.
Well, let's find out more about Wokingham Town Centre Regeneration. We're joined now by Mike McCormack, Head of Newark Studio, Benoit Architects, and by Sarah Morgan, Head of Development for Wokingham Borough Council. Congratulations to you both. Mike, I'll come to you in a moment, but to you first, Sarah. This sounds like it has been such a journey for all involved. Tell us more about the history of Wokingham Town Centre and how you came to decide that a new chapter was needed.
Yes, thank you. It certainly has been a journey for us, one which started back in the late noughties, about 2008, when the council realised that given the level of housing growth that was coming to Wokingham and the borough in general, that really the town centre did not offer the facilities that both current and future residents were going to need. We had seen a number of private sector investments come and go, lots of big plans and proposals, but none which had been delivered. So the council took the bold decision that it would step up and be the developer and deliver regeneration in Wokingham Town Centre. And how we did that was through a new master plan, a new vision for our town, how we wanted it to develop out over the next 10, 15 years. And here we are 10 years later, and we're absolutely thrilled with what we've delivered and for receiving this award.
Mike, as architects, did you need to get the engagement of the local community? And what challenges did you face on getting the town on side?
Very much so. We sought that engagement with the community. We did that through a whole range of consultation. You can do a certain amount online through platforms and social media. But for me, in particular, it's about speaking to people and getting out there. And so we did a series of events over weekends and weekdays. We had great engagement. We met many, many people who shared with us their thoughts and their aspirations and some of the challenges they were experiencing with the town centre as well. And the key, therefore, is to listen to that engagement when people spend their time talking to you. I think the other thing to remember was, of course, the evidence of need was very, very clear. We were in a town centre with some fairly broken public realm and some uninspirational buildings and what have you, competition leaking away to other centres. So I think people were well on the journey already. They knew that something had to happen. And I think really they were looking for communication. What are you going to do? When are you going to do it and how? And I think more than anything, there were 2 or 3 things that I remember that people were very, very clear with us. And they were talking about, please keep it local. Please keep that distinctiveness of Wokingham, what makes this place special. The green park and the wonderful mature trees that we had. And then Wokingham itself is a really pretty and very special town centre, full of heritage and some really rather wonderful buildings. And I think the message to us in that engagement was, please preserve and enhance that.
Sarah, how has it been received in Wokingham, and what's made you happiest about what you've achieved?
I think it's fair to say that along this journey, people have been very nervous about what it was going to be. We had a big vision, and sometimes that's hard for people to realise. But as the developments have come out of the ground and opened up, people have really begun to see how it all links together, and how the great and high quality development that we have realised. And I think they've been pleasantly surprised. We have received feedback from residents that said, well, we weren't sure before, we were very nervous about what you were doing. Now it's here, we really like it, and thank you for investing in our town. And we're seeing that come through on some of our social media feeds as well, which is just great. For me, the happiness is about the success it brings to the community and that it belongs to the community. They've put up with the disruption of the build. This has been 10 years in the making. And now they're just really getting to enjoy the spaces and the investment, and particularly during COVID restrictions, those public spaces have been really vital for people as a place for them to be able to meet, to socialise, to be outdoors, and have those connections. And it's just a great thrill to see it in reality now.
Fantastic. Your joint venture approach was absolutely key to making this happen. Mike, how important do you see these joint venture approaches in the development of other small towns, especially in these uncertain times?
I think it's hugely relevant. The towns and cities across the UK have some significant challenges. And I think when I say significant, they're pretty structural. The livelihood and the health of the high streets. And quite often, I think it is the local authorities and the councils who are able to take that much more comprehensive, holistic view. we're talking that these challenges are way beyond just the locality of one or two particular sites. And really, we need to take a sort of a much broader view, whether that be spatial master plans or whether that means infrastructure and facilities and amenity master plans. But they go beyond something which is quite micro. And really what I suppose that means is that it's the local authorities and this partnership of understanding that really can understand the needs of an entire cross-section of community and what their needs are and how to put that together. So I think, you know, a lot of these town centres are experiencing similar problems, and this template of working together is absolutely relevant.
Absolutely. And Sarah, what for the future of Wokingham Centre now? Are there any more plans?
Yes, absolutely. The future of Wokingham is very bright. We have our next stage of regeneration is on site, where we're building a new leisure and cultural hub, including a new library for the town centre, which is due to open next summer. And really, Wokingham is also about the events in the community, and there's a whole programme of events that happen that the community put on, and again utilising the new investment, the new spaces that we've created in the town. So the future for Wokingham is very bright, and we're really feeling very positive about it.
Well, what an amazing project, full of ambition, and just 45 minutes down the road from where I live. So I hope to be visiting soon. Congratulations once again to you and all the team for your success. And that concludes our virtual ceremony for today. Thank you to all of the jury members for providing their thoughts on our winners. And thank you to all of the teams that have helped to create these world-leading projects. We hope you've enjoyed finding out about them. And if you want more information, please do visit ULI's website. Before I hand over to the chairman of ULI Europe, Marnik Skal, for a final word, it's goodbye from me. I've really enjoyed finding out about all these amazing projects. Thank you. Marnik, over to you.
Thank you, Luisa. And thank you so much for hosting our awards ceremony so well. I'm delighted to offer my personal congratulations to our winners. These are all outstanding projects with a strong focus on sustainability, community engagement, and affordable housing, and they all deserve their achievement today. Thank you also to all of our finalists and to all of those who have submitted a project in the first place. Once again, we've seen a very high standard of submissions in what has been such a challenging year for everyone in the industry. Recognizing and sharing best practice, that ULI is able to contribute to the development of excellence in urban land use. With your contributions, we will endeavor to identify and give visibility to more and more extraordinary new projects each year. Even though we're unable to meet today to celebrate together, I'm proud that we have been able to deliver, with a little help from technology, an awards program for our members by the members that rewards and recognizes the achievements of excellence in land use practice for the wider industry. I'm very pleased to announce that today's winners, together with the 2020 ULI Europe Awards for Excellence winners, will now compete with the ULI Global Awards for Excellence. And I would like to wish them the best of luck in competing with remarkable projects from the world over. We will learn who the winners of the ULI Global Awards for Excellence are this October at our fall meeting, when we will also open submissions for the 2022 ULI Europe Awards for Excellence. So thank you all for watching today's ceremony. Thank you again, Luisa. Thank you, Giancarlo, and the jury for all your hard work, and to the ULI successful program together. Let's hope we will all finally be able to meet in person for next year's ceremony.